A new national poll shows support for abortion rights is going up, including among Republicans. According to a new Associated Press GFK poll, 58% of Americans believe abortion should be legal in most or all cases. That's up from 51% in January. And that comes after a year of all Republican presidential candidates campaigning against abortion rights. Those who think abortion should be illegal in most or all cases dropped from 45% in January to 39% now. Approval also rose in every political party from January to December. Republican support increased 5 points to 40%. Democratic Party support rose 7 points to 76%. And independents increased support by 11 points to 54%. Wendy Davis, former Texas state senator, is back with us. Senator Davis, when you were in the Senate, you did that, what became instantly famous nationally, filibuster in this fight against restricting abortion rights in Texas. And now we see that after this year, this very intense year of all Republican presidential campaigning against abortion rights, these attacks on Planned Parenthood, the attacks on the activities of Planned Parenthood in congressional hearings, support for abortion rights increasing. Does that surprise you, given the climate of the year?
It doesn't surprise me. I mean, it certainly speaks to the fact that the Republican Party is completely out of touch with most Americans on this issue. But I think the primary reason we're seeing this increase for support is that this issue is clearly present in the minds of voters across this country right now. It's been forced into the minds of voters, not only by what's happening with the conversation in the Republican primary, but also what's happening with these laws that have been passing in states like Texas and elsewhere. It's a key understanding that people have that this right that we've taken for granted for a long time actually can be threatened. And I think a lot of people understand at the end of the day, this is bad, not good for women. And they certainly see the connection between women's reproductive autonomy and their economic opportunity. And they don't want to see us go to a place where we actually threaten that by virtue of some of the rhetoric that's going on the Republican side, and also by virtue of these laws that have been passing in states across the country.
So, it seems what's going on is when this issue gets forced into public consciousness, whether it's through action by the Texas Senate or whether it's through Republican presidential campaigns or a murderous attack on Planned Parenthood, a congressional hearing about Planned Parenthood, that when it forces people to think about it, they don't necessarily, they think about it in their own terms. They don't think about it in the terms of the Republican attacks that are forcing the issue.
I think when we feel that this is an issue that might actually affect us, maybe a daughter, a sister, maybe ourselves, it becomes much more real, and therefore we're kind of forced to consider what our opinion on the issue is. I also think that there has been a great deal of effort, effective effort, in the last year for more women, as I did, to come out of the shadows and tell their personal stories about abortion, to put a personal face on this and to make it real and to take it out of the context of something that's abstract. I think the more that women do that and they destigmatize abortion, the better we will see the consequences in terms of people's support and understanding for why abortion rights in this country are still so very important.
Here's what Ronald Reagan's daughter, Patty Davis, said yesterday about the Republican presidential campaign.
My father would be so appalled at what's going on, and he would be so appalled at, I think, probably all of these candidates. I don't think he would. I don't think he would be a Republican, and if another Ronald Reagan came along right now, I don't think the Republican Party would accept him.
If you took away the white supremacists from Donald Trump's support base, if you took away all of the people who believe President Obama is not a legal citizen of the United States, if you took away the people who believe Barack Obama is a Muslim, Donald Trump would be polling in single digits. He would not be a factor in this presidential campaign and would soon be going the way of Bobby Jindal and Lindsey Graham. But instead, the haters of the president, the believers of lies, have made Donald Trump the front runner for the Republican presidential nomination, and he has made himself America's vulgarian in chief.
Everything that's been involved in Hillary has been losses. You take a look. Even a race to Obama. She was going to beat Obama. I don't know who'd be worse. I don't know. How does it get worse? But she was going to beat. She was favored to win. And she got schlonged. She lost. I mean, she lost.
For 24 hours now, Donald Trump has been criticized for the rather unpresidential use of the Yiddish word for penis, a word that is impossible for lifetime New Yorkers not to understand. And now Donald Trump has mounted his defense using his customary defensive tactic, a tweet, in which he tries to redefine the Yiddish term that no presidential candidate and no candidate for New York City Council or even Bronx Borough president has ever used in a campaign. There is America's loudest vulgarian trying to redefine vulgar, trying to tell us what is and isn't vulgar. We reached Dr. Ruth Weiss tonight, a Harvard Yiddish scholar, who told us, quote, the word is a Yiddish vulgarism, vulgar Yiddish term for penis. Donald Trump had more to say about Hillary Clinton last night and revealed all of the important policy thinking that went through his head when he was watching the Democratic debate.
What happened to her? I'm watching the debate, and she disappeared. Where did she go? Where did she go? I thought she quit. I thought she gave up. Where did she go? Where did Hillary go? They had to start the debate without her. Phase 2. Why? I know where she went. It's disgusting. I don't want to talk about it. No, it's too disgusting. Don't say it. It's disgusting. Let's not do it. We want to be very, very straight up, okay?
Donald Trump, who apparently has not gone to the bathroom since he became a presidential candidate, is still the Republican frontrunner. A new Quinnipiac poll shows just how embarrassed America would be to have a disgusting vulgarian as president of the United States. The poll shows that 50% of registered voters say they would be embarrassed if Donald Trump became president. 59% of women would be embarrassed to see the vulgarian in chief take the oath of office. 35% said they would be embarrassed to have Hillary Clinton as president, and 28% of women said they would be embarrassed to have Hillary Clinton as president. The embarrassment question was not asked about any of the other potentially embarrassing presidential candidates. That same poll shows Donald Trump maintaining his lead nationally among Republican voters at 28%, with Ted Cruz right behind him and actually within the margin of error at 24%. Marco Rubio is at 12, Ben Carson at 10, Chris Christie at 6, and Jeb Bush at 4. Joining us now, David Frum, senior editor for The Atlantic. Also with us, David Korn, Washington bureau chief for Mother Jones and an MSNBC political analyst. And also joining us tonight, Wendy Davis, former member of the Texas State Senate and a Hillary Clinton supporter. Senator Davis, first to you on your reaction to what Donald Trump has said last night about Hillary Clinton.
Well, Lawrence, just when we thought we'd seen him hit the lowest he could go, he hits lower again. And obviously, this is not an issue for Hillary Clinton. This rolls right off her back. She's tough. She can take it. But from my perspective, the reason that this is damaging for the Republican Party, number one, we haven't heard any of the other candidates repudiate those remarks, but it speaks volumes for that party's perspective about women. And for me, as a mother of 2 young women, I think about them looking at a person like Donald Trump possibly sitting in the Oval Office and his disparaging comments about women and what that means for the way that women in this country will feel about their president. This is not a person who belongs in that Oval Office, no question about it.
Jennifer Palmieri tweeted for the Clinton campaign today, "We are not responding to Trump, but everyone who understands the humiliation this degrading language inflicts on all women should respond to this." David Frum, how should the Republican candidates respond to this?
Well, they're not responsible for what Donald Trump has to say any more than any other individual is. They're his competitors, after all.
David, let me just hold it a second. Let's just hold it. Let's stipulate that no Republican candidate is responsible for anything. No Democratic candidate is responsible for anything. But as candidates, when things happen, we want to find out about their thinking. We want to find out about them as people. So how should they respond as human beings, as husbands, as fathers of daughters, as just human beings in this world? How should they respond?
I think they should respond the way a future leader of the country would respond, and that is to be mission-focused. Donald Trump's method has been, I forget whose phrase this is, to toss a dead cat onto the table, and that dead cat becomes the center of attention. But when you are president every day, and in this era of social media, it'll be ever more intense, there's an outrage cycle, and you can participate in it. You know, President Obama, in his interview with Steve Inskeep of NPR, was asked a series of questions about what did he think about this thing that had happened at Harvard Law School, which he had attended. And he said he didn't think it was necessary as president for him to comment on everything that happened on every campus in the country. It is very important for the people who are seeking to beat Donald Trump to have a mission, to understand where they're going and why they are doing it, and not to let him run their campaigns. He's obviously not running his own. It seems to be completely improvised, but they can't let him run theirs, too.
Well, let's listen to Jeb Bush's response. He is the one Republican that we do have a clear response from. Let's listen to him.
There has to be a level of decorum to win. It's not a sign of strength to insult people with profanity. It's not a serious thing.
Does it play into one more? Does it play into her ability to use? You know,
she's great at being the victim. You know, this will enhance her victimology status. This is what she loves doing. Trump is not going to be president because he says these things. It turns people off. I mean, for crying out loud, we're 2 days before Christmas. Lighten up, man.
So, David Corn, that's the best you could get from a Republican was disagreement with Trump, but make sure there's an attack on Hillary Clinton within that.
Well, I think Trump is driving his fellow Republicans mashugana. You know, they're having conniptions over all the service he's causing them, and they don't really know how to respond. I mean, I think David Frum has a point. They shouldn't have to respond to everything. But Ted Cruz played footsie with the Muslim ban issue, and Republicans, if they don't start trying to address Trump's hold on the party, and David Frum wrote a very good piece in The Atlantic about this, they may lose any standing they have to challenge him further down the road. And whether they take him on the vulgarian side of Trump or on the policy side of Trump, he is the leader, and they're going to have to do that. The only problem is taking Trump on means taking on a good portion of the GOP base, anywhere between 20 and 35%. And GOP elites, the donors, and the candidates don't seem to have the heart to do that.
Let's listen to what Bernie Sanders said about this.
Donald Trump is very upset. It's very hard for him to deal with. I don't know what his relationship with women has been in his life, but he has discovered that women go to the bathroom. And it's been very upsetting for him. But I gotta be honest with you. Gotta lay it out on the table. I also went to the bathroom.
Wendy Davis, a poll shows 60% of women would be embarrassed to have Donald Trump as president. The Republicans have to worry how much that embarrassment might just infect others in this presidential field.
I think they do. And just to take a little bit of a different perspective than David Frum's on this, I do think it's important that when Donald Trump, who is speaking purportedly for the Republican Party, certainly in the view of a lot of people who are watching what's going on in the primary right now, when he's making disparaging comments about women like this, if they don't disassociate themselves from that, it's as though they're accepting that that language is okay. And I think it threatens to color the entire Republican primary presidential candidates with that. And in fact, I think it has, and it will if they don't separate themselves from it.
I want to listen to what Hillary Clinton said today in clarifying her statements about Donald Trump and how ISIS will use him in recruitment. Let's listen to this.
If you go on Arabic television, as we have, and you look at what is being blasted out with video of Mr. Trump being translated into Arabic, no Muslims coming to the United States, other kinds of derogatory, defamatory statements, it is playing into the hands of the violent jihadists. There is nothing they want more than to be able to claim that the United States is against Islam and against Muslims.
David Corn, there's not a word anyone can really dispute in that.
Right. I mean, that's what she should have said the first time, being very specific about ISIS making videos that featured Trump as a recruitment tool seems to have been, not quite accurate, not true. And she has, refined the sentiment, which I think is accurate and quite important. Now, for Trump to get out there and call her a liar and get on his high horse about that is a little, ridiculous, given that this is a guy who said he predicted bin Laden when he didn't, that he saw thousands of American Muslims on video celebrating 9/11 when that didn't happen, and when he said he, made friends with Putin in the green room at 60 Minutes when he was in New York and Putin was in Moscow. So when it comes to lying, Trump is really not in a strong position to make that accusation.